Hi there, this is Ronnie coming at you with a video. And the lockdown continues. I hope everyone is staying safe and being happy and healthy and continuing to go with social distancing at the moment. Not the most pleasant of things to go through, but it is what it is. Yeah. So anyway, I'm doing a lot of gaming. I've mentioned this in previous video. I'm doing my gaming obviously online at the moment. Playing in a game on a Monday and running a game on a Friday. And the Monday game is being done just over a general sort of chat stream called StreamYard, and it works fairly fine. We're having some technical issues at the moment, but I think that's more to do with the fact that so many people are now using the internet because we're all at home. Friday I'm using on the game I'm running on Friday is through Roll20. Again, we're having some issues, but part of that I think is the aforementioned everyone's at home, and some of that is due to the fact that Roll20 is incredibly finicky, and it can be a real pain in the backside, to be honest. But we're making do. But as more people are sort of going forward, it made me wonder about games, because there are dedicated role-playing sites like Roll20 and Fantasy Grounds and so on, and then there are sort of dedicated group chat devices such as Discord, Skype, Facebook Messenger, StreamYard, that sort of thing. And it changes the way people play. I remember when I first started playing games online with other people, it was over Google Hangouts, and you had this lovely little app that you could get called Dice Roller. Lovely little app. Wasn't perfect, but it meant you could play on Google Hangouts and have a dice roller there. That all got changed, and we lost the dice roller, and Google Hangouts is a shell of what it used to be. And other things have taken over. So you're left with, in terms of gaming, you're left with two choices. Sort of. One is to use a site such as Roll20, Fantasy Grounds, somewhere where you can see sort of digital versions of dice being rolled, so the GM can see. Or you set up a camera on your table so that the GM can actually see what you've rolled. Realistically, the only way to really do that practically is to have the camera ready and have a dice tray and just roll into the dice tray, which is fair enough. Or as been used in the game I'm playing in on a Monday, pretty much the honest system. You're trusted to be honest with your rolls, which we are, because we accept that part of the fun of a game is not just when you succeed and that wonderful feeling of succeeding, but also how the drama and everything shifts. If you find that you've you haven't made a roll. And it's interesting to the story. So I like that. Just before Christmas, however, I had a generic system on PDF, and I've had it for ages. And I found a printed copy going for a nice price. And that is this one. I've mentioned it a couple of times, which is Active Exploits. And as you can see, it says Diceless Role Playing. Now, role-playing games come in fairly simple terms. The overwhelming majority, and I mean the overwhelming majority, use dice of one kind or another. A smaller subset use cards. And I don't just mean like Savage Worlds uses cards for initiative. I mean everything is done with cards, be it standard deck of playing cards. Some use a tarot. Some, such as Dragonlance 5th Age and the Marvel Superheroes game that used the same, used what they call the Saga system, which is their own dedicated card deck for task resolution. And then there are games like Active Exploits, and probably the more famous one is Amber. And they don't use any randomizer whatsoever. There's no dice, no cards, no nothing. And I finally got this, as I say, for a nice price. And I am keen to run it. Now, I have some of the PDFs. You can get Active Exploits on Drive-Thru. And there are PDFs that you can get. One that I'm rather tempted to print out. There's a couple for printing out. The one that particularly jumps out at me is Sengoku, which I did have the original. I did have Sengoku, and I ended up giving it away. I gave it to my friend. Give it to my friend Samantha. Because she's heavily into sort of Japanese history and so on. So I thought she would appreciate a game set in feudal Japan, and that was fine. But I've got the Active Exploits version of Sengoku, and I'm tempted to print it out just for use. But Active Exploits forms the basis of a dice-based system called Genre Division, which is run by the same company, PIG. And they've released some games using Genre Division which allow you to strip the dice out and run it with Active Exploits. And the reason I wanted to get it is that, as you can see, this is thin. And it has no setting. There's very few genre rules in it at all. There's just enough to get through the main concepts of the game. Essentially, the game is attribute plus skill, trying to beat a target number. You also have a pool of luck points that you can use to try and push yourself over. And discipline points as well to help you push over. Luck points and discipline points are returned to the players in different ways, and whilst discipline comes back at basically the start of every chapter, at the start of every year, luck points come back for good role playing, or just a brilliant piece, or whenever the GM feels like being nice. But the PDF, the settings books that are on Drive-Thru are nice, but they're not perfect. And what they don't have is just a straightforward fantasy setting, a straightforward sci-fi, and something that's kind of straightforward horror. But then there's genre division, and it does have. So I bought genre diversion. So I bought this, which is Ghost Stories, which is for running modern horror, which I can strip out the dice, and I've got a sort of blanket sort of horror setting that I can use active exploits with. I'm going to get to that last one in a minute. Need sci-fi? Hard Nova 2. Again, this has its own system, but you can strip the dice out and you can use active exploits with it. That gives me a sci-fi setting. And again, its own system, but you can use active exploits in it. So that gives me a nice fantasy with Iron Gauntlets. Then there's this one, which has its own history, and that is Blood Shadows. Blood Shadows first started, was it the late 80s, early 90s? Anyway, was originally released by West End Games as part of their Master Book series, which was a set of rules, almost a generic rule in themselves, with a lot of settings. Chief among those settings, they had a sort of, and I cannot remember the name of it for the life of me, but the master said they had like a sci-fi version of Pendragon, sort of King Arthur. Which intrigued me. And if they've got a version with those rules for that, I'd be tempted to get it to use active exploits with. Blood Shadows has had a few editions. This one is 3rd edition, and it does use that genre diversion rules, but it's a bit more in depth. It's don't let the cover fool you. It's not set in our world. What it's basically done, it's taken your typical fantasy world and went to their version of the 1920s, 1930s with it. You know, that sort of period. You know, in a similar way that Terry Pratchett's Discworld has, at the time, the sort of bulk of his novels had that whole sort of feeling of Victorian times, but Discworld reaching those times, sort of Victorian, Edwardian times. This one has the feel of going to the sort of 1920s, 1930s. It's a bit more in depth. I do want to use active exploits with it, but I think it's going to take a bit more work. But I'm intrigued to use it. And the reason, as much as anything else, is, well, severalfold. One, it means that you could literally have the players playing online, and you don't have to worry about whether you trust them with the dice rolls or not, because they don't have to make any. And you could just it cleans up the table. Because I want to run this in my I want to run it in my friendly local gaming store as well when it reopens, as it will. But I very much want to run this. I want to see how it plays. It intrigues me. It grabs my attention. I'm interested in it. I'll probably run something. I was tempted to use it for Free RPG Day, although I'm stuck between that and the fact that I do have the Princess Bride RPG, which I think is going to come free RPG Day. I'm going to use that, I think. Free RPG Day, I have been told, is still going to happen. However, obviously the current date that was quoted, which was June the 13th, is not going to happen now. They're going to change that date to, further on. But it's still going to happen. So yeah, just a quick video from me. Quick video, it creeps on to 16 minutes. But I thought I would just throw, rather than have a topic or anything, I just thought I'd throw a few thoughts out there, particularly sort of inspired by the fact that I've got that game. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll be back soon with another video.